What's going on, everybody? This is Black Men Sundays. I'm your host, Corie Murray. This is a show about generational wealth, about finance, about business in general. Before we introduce our special guest, my man Eric, who do you have for our Black Men Sunday spotlight?
Okay, thank you, Corey. I appreciate that. Today, I'd like to recognize what's happening. The history that I have, or history point that I have for this month, is on today's date, back in 2022, is when a jury had actually convicted former Ku Klux Klan member Bobby Frank Cherry in 1963. This happened in Birmingham for the murder of the four girls on the 16th Street Baptist Church bombing that actually happened today on May 22nd. Also on today, this is a day that poet, playwright, and columnist Langston Hughes died today, on this day on May 22nd. He died in New York City. Those are two spotlights that I have for today's spotlight.
Thank you, Eric, for that Black Men Sunday spotlight. Now we must introduce our guest. This brother here is FAMU royalty. This brother here has 4 generations of rallies. His father's in the FAMU Hall of Fame. This brother is in the FAMU Hall of Fame. This brother coached the men and women's basketball team. This brother has a show on YouTube called Insights with Mick and Rick. He also has Insights TV, which was the only minority company televising high school basketball games. You got to give a brother some respect for that. This brother's show with Mick and Rick, you must check it out on YouTube every Tuesday. This brother, listen, when I listen to that show, I feel like I'm back in Tallahassee. Even though Rick from DC, man, that brother sound like he's fresh out of South Tallahassee. Like when I listen to that show, it feel like I'm eating a fresh gut box. So without further ado, welcome FAMU royalty, Mickey Clayton of Black Men Sundays. Brother, how you doing?
Man, I'm great. And after that blow up, I had to get you a gut box. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. So let's go on and get this thing started. Like I said, your show is on YouTube, Insights, Mick and Rick. The business is Insights with 2 eyes in the middle, Insights TV. So let's talk about that. I mean, the only minority company televising games. Let's jump into that first and foremost.
Well, that was a part of our dream and our vision in terms of what we wanted to do. We thought that the high school sports in the area were not getting the publicity that the student athletes, the teams, or the schools deserve. And so we kind of concentrated. We were able to find a niche. Now, a lot of people want to do it, but we were on TV for 4 years until COVID-19 hit. When COVID hit, it just wasn't safe, or I didn't feel it was safe for us to have our crew out and try and do it. And so we stopped doing games for a while. We just started back this year, starting with basketball. And we started with FAMU High because their coach, Deon Desir, one of the few females coaching the males teams in the area, asked me to come and speak to her team. And it was about the varsity and the JV, it's about 20 of them on the team. And so the first thing I asked her, I know we haven't been out, we haven't done any games, we hadn't done a FAMU High game in about 3 years, but how many of you have even heard of Insights? And 18 out of 20 of them put their hands up. And they were saying, Coach, we follow you, we subscribe to you. So that made us feel pretty good that, we hadn't been there, but our brand was still going out. The kids felt like they were receiving some recognition and notoriety as a part of the program. In fact, we went out to FAMU High. One of their young men just signed his scholarship to go to Weber, and he personally requested that we come out. So we actually live streamed that on Instagram. We put the whole 40-minute program from FAMU High up there. But it's all about the kids. Hashtag, it's all about the kids. So we feel pretty good with what we've done with the sports. And we branch out with Insights Magazine. We got Mick and Rick. We have interviews with Dr. Humphreys, Dr. Gaines. We have different people. We got one that we want to do. We talked about it, but we're going to put Alvin Wyatt, former Bethune-Cookman coach, on, because Shine is a story in itself. I mean, he's a funny guy. And I'll tell you a quick one. He got his Bethune-Cookman tag on the back of his car. And he said every time he see Florida A&M, he said he don't care if he had to drive 120 miles an hour, he got to catch him and pass him. He can't let FAMU beat him in nothing. So he was a highly successful coach at Bethune, but kind of frank and interesting. So we try to keep it entertaining, and we also try to make it enrichment, and we try to do an enhancement so that you learn something.
Gotcha. Yeah, because I noticed on there you have coaches, athletic directors. It's funny you mentioned the Dr. Humphrey show because you guys he was talking about the bus boycott. He was also talking about how the football team would shake you off the bus. So just for a second, if you don't mind, telling that story.
The story behind that, I never really got the whole story. See, when my dad passed, Dr. Humphreys came to the funeral in Cocoa, Florida. And I was stunned when he walked in the back of the church. And when Dr. Humphreys came in, everybody was silent. And so naturally, they had Dr. Humphreys come up and speak. And the first thing Dr. Humphreys said was, man, he said, nobody believed that I played on the basketball team. And the only person that can vouch for me playing basketball is Matt Clayton, and he's laying in that casket. He said, Mac and I walked home after practice every day. And see, Dr. Humphreys always would say he played basketball, and they would be in convocation, and they say, Dr. Humphreys, ain't no records of you playing no basketball. So they didn't believe him. But I didn't know that was one of the reasons my relationship had went so far with him, that it was so easy for me to get to him to talk about some of the things that you talked about, because you only knew that if you watched it. So I know that you watched it. That's basically what you're saying. But my wife would say, he got a way of just calling you. Miguel, come here. I need to talk to you, Miguel. Come here. And Dr. Humphreys, when the president called you and cussed you out, you just been cussed out. I mean, that's just, he would tell you his story. But when he talked about the bus boycott and they drove that bus through campus, he said, man, the football team got upset about that because they were supporting the boycott. And they lifted that bus up and shook them people off the bus. They ain't come back on our campus riding that bus no more. They shook them off. They asses hit the ground. And I was just like, Dr. Humphreys, for real? And Dr. Humphreys was just, man, he was a special kind of guy. He was all about the institution and educating his people, his students. I mean, he met with businesses and corporations, and he wanted to know why or what would it take for them to come on Florida A&M's campus and recruit his students. And after he finished his research, they pretty much came back and told him that they needed FAMU students to have better communication skills and better writing skills. And so he went back and implemented some enhanced programs in both of those. And he told them once he got them, he said, I expect you to come back on my campus and get my students. So he gave them what they wanted so that our students would be able to go into corporate America and be successful in their endeavors.
Great information, great story. I just had to hear it live on my show real quick because, man, when you told it that was hilarious. So just to let you, and plus I'm letting you know I'm paying attention. I'm locked in. When you send that link to me on Tuesdays, I'm clicking it as soon as you send it around like 8:00 that evening. So let's keep this thing. Yeah, yes, sir. So let's keep it going because we're talking about the power of HBCUs. We're talking about HBCUs in general. What do you get from going to a HBCU versus PWI schools?
Let me be Dr. Humphreys again. If we had a student athlete that we really wanted to recruit, Dr. Humphreys would always make time in his schedule to talk to that student athlete. And he always closed by saying, you want to win a championship, and you want to win a championship for your people. He said, anytime you win a championship at a PWI, you won it for them. You didn't win it for your own people. He said, imagine you in the gym and you playing basketball with a Black coaching staff, Black teammates, Black cheerleaders, Black pep band, Black students. How could you not want to be in that environment and win a championship for your own people?
Well,
and by the time Fred got through talking to him, I wanted to put on my shorts and play again. But to further answer your question, the love and the care that you get from people who care about you. A lot of times when you go someplace, they educate you and they take time with you, but if you're highly successful, you end up being competitive with their sons and daughters for jobs. And not everybody sees that as a positive. When you're at HBCU, we know that you are the future. We want you to be successful because you have to carry the banner on, and you have to carry the banner on further than what we did. It's like being a coach. My daughter's always said, Daddy, how can you talk to people that you don't even know like you talk to them? And I said, a lot of times people know and almost pick up that you're a coach or former coach. They respond differently when a coach talks to them. You can say, hey, boy, come here. And they almost step to attention and come over there. I typically will stop somebody in the mall and say, young man, I don't care what happens between you and that baby's mama. I want you to always spend time with that baby like you holding them now and let them know that you love them and you're there for them. I don't care what happens to y'all moving forward, but you make sure that baby that you carrying right there knows that you love him and that they have a daddy. And they would ask me, said, Dad, did you know them? I said, no. And why would you do that? I said, because a lot of times that one word of encouragement to let somebody know that they're doing the right thing is very important, because a lot of times you hear the negative.
You know, this Black Men Sundays, we talk about business, we talk about finance, we talk about wealth. So I have to ask you, man, how have you been able to make your money work for you?
See, I don't quite know how to answer that, because most of the time I have to work for my money. I mean, so in terms of making it work for me, what you guys are doing on here has been very educational for me. Some of the things that you've said on here, I wish I knew when I was your age. I didn't know. And so a lot of times as you get towards retirement, it's really too late. But when you're younger, you don't really listen because you think it's so far away that it doesn't apply to you. You have some very, very good speakers on here who tell you and help you with how to invest your money, ideologies and plans and philosophies that we didn't have access to. That's one of the reasons that your show is so special, because those type of things don't happen. The one thing I would say is that as you get older, time is almost gotten away from you. You can do without younger and set stuff aside. You always think that you need it. I can do this, I can do that. Now, the one thing I learned from my grandfather was every time you get a raise, he said, give yourself a little bit, but take most of that raise and save it. And I said, why would you do that? I said, that's defeating the purpose of getting a raise. He said, no, it's not, because you've been living at that amount for a minute, so you can do without it. Put it aside and save it. And that was about the most helpful financial advice I had received. Because financial advice, we don't always listen to people when they tell you. It's like health. When they tell you to go to the doctor, Black men don't want to go to the doctor. And I didn't want to go to the doctor. And a part of it is, if something's wrong with me, I don't want to know. I ain't get ready to be worried about it. If they say I got something, I'm getting ready to die, then don't let me know it. Let me just go on and croak. I don't need to know it. But all those things that you have young compound itself and catch up with you when you get older. And a lot of these things that you get older are irreversible. So it's the same thing with your health. With your wealth and accumulating money. It's a lot easier when you're younger to put a certain portion aside and watch it accumulate and invest it at 30 and 35 as opposed to 60. It's a big difference. And money now is hard to come by. And there's a lot of people out there with investment strategies. Some have been here on your show, some whom are part of your crew that I respect tremendously in terms of advice that they've given and things that they've said that I wish I knew when I was much younger. I passed some of it on to my son-in-law, who brought me to this show. He listens, he researches, and he kind of follows up. He say, Mr. Clayton, some of that stuff on there is pretty good. I say, yeah, and you need to listen to what they're telling you. And oftentimes we don't listen to somebody who's of the same hue that we are. You have to listen to somebody else from across the street tell you, because sometimes you think their ice is cold. So you don't want to listen to your own brother, your own sister who has experience and know what they're talking about.
And, as we're talking about that, I want to talk a little bit about Black families and our health, because I feel like in my family and a lot of families I see, you don't realize someone's sick until they're on their deathbed. They may have had cancer, they may have had just any other disease, but you don't know about it. So I just would like for you to touch on the secrets of health that our Black families keep and how it harms us in the long run.
First of all, Corie, let me explain something to you. What you just said has a lot of layers to it. And having lived almost all of it, of what you said from different angles, I understand exactly. I come from a family where my dad didn't talk about what was wrong with him. On the other side, My mother did all the time. It was always, and it was always woe is me. And it was always, I'm on my deathbed and I need all my sons around me. This is the last time I'm gonna have surgery. I might not make it. And we probably heard that, 10, 12 times over 4 or 5 years. So every time you talk to her, she was about to pass. And after a while, you get kind of numb to that. As children, and we grow up, we follow the role models that we have. Sometimes good, sometimes bad. And things that they did that you felt were bad, you're adamant that you won't do it to your children. I say that to say, personally, for me, I don't share it because I know what my mother put me through. So I don't want to put my family through it if I was in that situation, because I don't want to play with their emotions. I'm not saying I'm right with that, because my daughters and my wife are mad. They don't agree with that. I like to tell them where I am in terms of what the doctor is saying now that I go on a whole lot more now than I did when I was younger. Genetics plays a tremendous part. I don't know what my mother had or my father had because they never shared it and never talked about it. And when you would ask them, they wouldn't tell you. My health conditions got bad and it peaked during COVID, 6'6", 345. I actually, when I graduated from college, I was 6'6", 225. The doctor told me, said, Coach, if you continue to gain weight, we're going to end up having a lot more serious health problems than what you have right now. And my health problems were bad. High blood, cholesterol, gout, arthritis, I could go on. A lot of those things are cumulative. And over time, they get worse. Sometimes when you tell your family what's going on, they think daddy just talking. So I don't tell them. They can't do much to help me. If I had 6 months to live, I wouldn't tell them. What could they do to help? All they're going to do is worry about it for 6 months. So I wouldn't want them to know. That's just me. But I took it upon myself that I need to get myself in better condition. And where I was 345 last August, I'm 245 today. I've lost 100 pounds in less than a month, probably off of 3 different medications that I was on. And each one of my doctors are looking at me like a miracle of medicine. But it's taking work. I still want to get about another 15 or 20 off, but it's just a matter of being conscious of me letting it get away from me, and you don't think about it until you almost at that cliff where you about to fall your ass in. And once you fall in that abyss of health, a lot of that stuff is not reversible. You end up with it. So a lot of times when I was your age, I wasn't hearing that. I wasn't feeling it because you kind of think you're invincible. So the narrative on that is, as Black men, you got to take a little bit, sometimes a lot more attention to your health conditions. And some of it you got a predisposition to have because genetically it's in your family. It's in your blood. And I think that all of us owe it to our children to sit down and talk to them and explain it to them, even though they don't want to hear it, they need to know it.
I feel both sides of what you said. Like my mom, I went home for a routine visit back in January. I thought it was just something going on with her diabetes. We go to the doctor. The next day, the doctor calls me and tells me that he's put my mom into hospice. She's had colon cancer for the last 5 years. It spread to her brain. And she won't be here much longer, right? So part of what Corie was asking about, if you're sick, should you tell your kids, right? Well, I found out my grandma had the same issue. I was wondering how she died until I went and pulled her death records. They had the same thing, right? So we got strong genes. I look just like my mama. So it's like, wow, that's something I need to be conscious of to make sure that I'm doing what I can from a preliminary or preventative standpoint to make sure that, I got those genetics. What can I do to try to prevent them? So, well, honestly, Mr. Clayton, when I found that out, I was devastated, right? My mom lived 2 weeks after that. I mean, I can't really describe the pain that I felt knowing that, right? So I can understand your point on one side when you said that, you wouldn't want to put your kids through that worration and that, it's a lot to deal with. Then on the other side, it's like, well, I guess I do want to know genetically because I have the similar issues. So I kind of see both of your points on that.
And I understand. I'm sorry to hear about your mom. There's a lot of things in life that you go through. and people tell you they understand it. But if you haven't been in that spot, you don't understand. You know, I haven't lost a child. So if somebody tells me, you know, that something happened to their son or daughter, they were in an accident, something happened, I commiserate with them, but I have not experienced it. I don't know that pain. But losing a mom and a dad, I've lost them both separately within the last 4 or 5 years. I know that feeling. And I know that it's one of them things that and I'm telling you right now, you never get over it. And my mom's phone number is still in my phone. My dad's phone number is still in my phone. You know, I will never, ever erase it. All of them that pass on, I keep it. And there's times that I know my mother communicates with me. And then there's a bigger issue here in terms of how we deal with death. Because if you have a family, as the head of your family, it's difficult to grieve when your children are grieving. And so you have to, when my dad passed, and I'm not trying to take the story from you, but when my dad passed, the same funeral Dr. Humphreys came to, I basically was okay until I had to stand up. My daughters had to walk by. And one of my daughters walked by and she saw her granddaddy in the casket. And she absolutely lost it. And she actually almost got inside my jacket. And she just lost it. And at that point, that's when I lost it. And I remember just standing there holding it, but nobody standing up in the church during this process but herself, but me and me holding her. And I could see in the back of the church, two of my basketball players, I don't know what they were going to do. They stood up and I could see them. And they had made the comment, if we need to go up there with coach, we going with coach. But you're so busy trying to help everybody else that you don't really get to grieve and let it out. You know, so there's times when it hits you with your mom or your dad, and it's at a time when you don't expect it. Gerald and Eddie Levert can play the wind beneath my wings. And my dad was a coach. My dad was a Kappa. I was a coach. I was a Kappa. I looked up to a lot of stuff he did, and that song in itself has caused me to lose it a couple times. So when you lose a parent, you don't get over it. You don't get over it.
Yeah, that's true. And you know, I find out every day. I just try to take the lessons that she taught me and try to, you know, spread the positive knowledge that she gave me and the leadership advice she gave me and spread to the young people. And Corie, I wanted to tell you this too, because we're talking about health and wealth, right? And I was asking Dr. Clayton about, you know, how does he feel like he should have told, you know, will he tell his kids if he has an issue? I'm working with a young man right now that he's a PhD student at North Carolina State doing research on different devices that can hook up to your iPhone to help you be more proactive with understanding your health issues. Now, we'll talk about it later, but there's a whole new field of understanding what's going on with your health before you have to get to the doctor, before you're having that stroke and a heart attack, before you get diabetes, that can actually help you save your life and your family members as well. But we'll talk about that later.
While we on this topic, here's what I want to transition to a little bit, man, because we're talking about health versus wealth with retired FAMU men and women's basketball coach. I was talking to his daughter. She told me, Mick, you're the busiest retired man she knows. Now, this brother, this for y'all to know now, this brother, 3 daughters, all of them hoopers. So, you know, go ahead, Mickey.
I'm laughing because she sure says that. I said, oh, he talked to her for real. That's just what she says. I promise you, just what she says. But Insiights has kept us extremely busy. We're working right now. If we can work out some difficulties that we unsuspected that we were having with Roku, we were expecting to already be having our Roku network up and running. We have a virtual showcase in June where we're actually letting independent artists come on, and we're doing a live virtual show on Saturday with hip hop, rappers, comedians, entertainers. On Sunday, we're doing one with gospel musicians, gospel singers. We'll have a gospel Sunday. Why? We're using our platform as a means to allow these people to be seen. When you have a platform and you don't utilize it to the best of everybody else, then that's really kind of being selfish, and you kind of defeating the purpose of why God has allowed you to have that success. So we're doing that. Wednesday, we have a cast call at Studio 13 there's a group that's putting on some skits. We're gonna have probably once a month. They're putting on some skits in here, some comedy skits, and we'll host them in Studio 13, give people a place to go and allow him to produce what has been for him a dream. And so he came and talked to me about doing it here. We will probably live stream his events, help him promote, sell his brand. Right now, outside of that, we probably have 3 different productions that have come to us about producing their content and putting their content on our platform. You'll hear more about it as we go through it, but we have some people that have come to us after they saw what we were doing and the fact that we're opening up the doors for creative content creators to be able to use a platform to get more exposure. So we're trying very hard to use our platform in a way that's positive, that's allowing other people to be seen and to do something that everybody else isn't doing. I raised each one of my daughters. I was raised in Cleveland, and the educational system was a little different. And the northern educational system and the southern educational system is a little different. And we were always taught to challenge. And if you didn't think something was right, then you do your research and you come back. We were never passive. We were always aggressive, always trying to figure out how to make things meet, how to make ends meet. And we kind of raised my daughters the same way. You know them. They'll challenge you in a minute. But no, that's how we raised them to be independent. So I'm saying that to say that even where we are right now today, we try to be honest, try to treat people fairly, and try to provide an opportunity. Now, if you try to bullshit us and lie to us, then, we've been calm before by the best. So what happens is my God's a little different. My God taught me in a way that Mickey understand him. He lied and said, boy, didn't I let you see that already? If you get ready to fall in that hole again, that's on you. I told you one time, you can't trust that boy. So it teaches you how to handle certain situations. But out of it, we try to find stuff outside the box. And so people want content. If we think it's something that deserves a shot, it's just like the young man with the cast call Wednesday. I told him when I heard his dream and what he wanted to do and implement, my words to him was, man, I think your baby deserves to be born. We need to birth that baby and see what'll happen from it. Let's give it a chance. It's been your dream 10 years. 10 years? I've been there. I tell you, I've done a movie. I'm sitting on the movie. I showed it to you. We get our Roku channel up, it's going to be on there. We found now a way to maximize some of the things that we've done creatively. But like I said, Game Day, the movie, you one of the few that's been able to say they saw that.
Yeah, and this Clayton, Game Day, the movie, this brother here produced the movie. This brother also is an author as well. So he's not just a basketball coach. He's not just chilling on retirement. This man here is getting it. And, like I said on our show, we talk about generational wealth, coach. As part of generational wealth, I feel like in our community, we have to escape this generational poverty issue, lack of home ownership, inflation, paying high taxes. We're not achieving the financial success that we need to. Now, when I look back at myself and I look at other brothers that I've spoken to, a lot of it was taught. Don't buy no house, pipe burst. You don't have no money to replace that. But when you think about ownership in this country, you think about real estate and you think about business ownership, which the majority of people that are successful have both and have some land. So I would just like you from your point of view, because I know you doing my research, you paid your house off. So, you chilling, you paying taxes once a year. So, but I just want you to touch on the importance of that, because I see so many brothers, man, they Balenciaga, Gucci, 800, 700 Benz, and they renting an apartment. And, you're not doing anything generationally. So I would love for you to touch on that while we have you on.
Yeah, you do your research. It is paid off, and it was difficult to do, but I always saw down the road a little bit. Then I took my drop money and bought Studio 13. I don't have no cash, got assets, but I don't have no cash. But God comes to me, he says, he said, Coach, I'm on the committee here with the city of Tallahassee. Whatever you do not sell Studio 13. He said, I don't care if you rent it to somebody. He said, I don't care if your wife get mad with you, do not sell it. He said, you've been in here about a year and a half. I said, I have. He said, oh, it's your value on it has increased 20% in that time. I said, are you serious? He said, yeah, because Tallahassee has just become Tallahassee International Airport. Outside that street where your street ends, that 2-lane street is going to be 6 lanes. He said, don't sell your property. He said, the value of this is going to double. Do not sell it. Hold on to it. There's a lot of things that happen in life, but one thing is they don't make no more land. What's there is there. They don't make any more land. And even when you purchase, my thing is that I've always told my daughters and people that I was close to, I said, when you're renting, you are helping somebody pay off their property, either the apartment or the house. If you're renting a house from somebody, your rent is higher than what the note is because they making some money on it and you helping them pay it off. So isn't it better for you to have your own piece of property? Isn't it better for you to pay off your own than for your money to go for somebody else? And I said, that's kind of where our money went. I got a Hummer, a 2004, 150. It might be a 2005. They're old trucks. They running all right. But my money went in paying off my land because those vehicles, the minute you drove them off the lot, they depreciated, except for now. Now the doggone used cars have went up so much you can almost get your money back on them. But if you get your money back, you can't replace them with what you getting the money back for. That's why the cost, you can get the money back, but you can't buy anything comparable for the money that you get. So you have to kind of look down the road. It was easier for me to repair it than to buy a new one and have a note because I like to travel. My Browns go somewhere, I go see them play 3-4 times a year. The Cavaliers. It's more important for me to be able to travel and do the things that I like to do than be riding around in X, Y, and Z vehicle and be broke. So we try to stay busy. I try to provide opportunities for other people because that's just kind of important to me. I just think we got to hashtag it. It's all about the kids. I mean, hashtag Insights everywhere. We try to do this to help other people be able to live their dreams. And for us, if I was concerned about making a lot of money, I'd have stayed in pre-med. But that wasn't what I really wanted to do. I wanted to make enough to be comfortable. But the other piece of it, to be a doctor and all this entailed doing that, I take my hat off to the ones who did it and went through it. But I changed my path in life because it was some other things that I just wanted to be able to do.
Back to the wealth initiative here. Is there any advice you've given previous athletes or you can give to future athletes as far as, if they actually make it, not only in sports and basketball, but in their life? Like, you always hear the stories of, I think it was Antoine Walker, who spent over $112 million in the NBA, was broke, right? Like, is there anything that you're doing to help give them a good baseline of financial literacy or what they could be doing with those millions once they get them?
Good question. Actually, a great question. Because as they go on, if you watch even at AAU level, middle school level, as they start to develop, the hanger-on and leeches come out real early identifying, especially in men's sport. And with the boys, they start identifying them. They try to talk to mom and dad, and especially if it's mom without a dad in the house, they really undermine them. And they try to get their hooks in these kids real early, try to advise them. They try to get them to change schools. They want to work them out. On the other hand, with the girls, I always told the mothers to be careful of the guys who come in to work your daughter out. It's not about working them out, at least not athletically. They have ulterior motives, so you have to be careful about that. But you always have to be careful with people trying to get close to your children, male or female. And I say that to say that they end up a lot of times not listening to what you say, because if you're not telling them what they want to hear, they go to somebody else who tells them what they want to hear. And as a result of that, they're telling them for selfish reasons. And that ends up being an issue. Now, one of the people that actually handled their wealth better than most was Marquis Grissom, FAMU graduate who played with the Atlanta Braves. Marquis came and spoke to the team one time. Marquis said, this is what Marquis said. He said he takes his check and he banks it, his whole check. He lives off his bonus money. From his bonus money, he bought homes for his mother and father and 7 brothers and sisters. He bought them homes and he bought them cars. And he told them, don't ask him for shit. I took care of you now. And he said all of the money that he made on his paycheck went into the bank and he lived off bonus money. He said, Coach, I was in the School of Business and Industry at Florida A&M. I know how to save my money. When you got 7 brothers and sisters and parents and everybody wants something, and he took it out of the bonus money and said, hey, if this don't give you enough of a head start, you're on your own. But people try to suck them dry. They try to suck them dry. And the biggest thing is you have to cut some of them off. Now, I got athletes I've had that would rent a plane and put all their boys on the plane and take them off to different places for 2 or 3 weeks. You know, needless to say, that individual pretty much close to being broke now. But sometimes you do stuff because you have money, and no matter what you tell these guys or young ladies, they're not feeling it. So, Coach, Commissioner, all you could do is try to educate them and sit there and hope that they make the right decision. Same thing we do with our children. We tell them what's right, we tell them what's wrong, but at the end of the day, they make those decisions and choices on their own. Most of the time, they come back to what they've been taught, but there's a lot of times they don't. And when they come back, it's too late. And what I mean by too late, with male athletes, when the light come on, we want it to come on before you're in jail, before you're in prison. We want the light to come on before then. With the young ladies, we wanted to hit you and come on before you had 2, 3 children. You know, so it usually comes on. It's just sometimes it just comes on too late to make a significant difference. But that's a heck of a question, and everybody has a philosophy or a way to try to help. But I think at the end of the day, all we could do is put it out there and do the best we can and hope that they listen. You know, we get involved with things trying to help these kids, and we don't. At the end of the day, I just adopt the philosophy: if we help one, that one is better than none. So,
thank you, sir.
Coach, I hope that helps a little bit.
As a Black man, how do we evaluate ourselves? Because I speak to a lot of Black men that say, you know, me and the wife, we're cool, but I don't let her know about my inner feelings. I kind of bottle it in, and then it turns into a shook Pepsi when you open it up, or a shook Coca-Cola when you open it up. So I just want you to touch on the Black man filter and how can we utilize the opinionatedness of who we are to do something to excel with it instead of it being negative all the time.
I'm gonna give you an award for the questions with the most layers. You know, you don't ask a simple question. You ask one that got all these different layers and ecological filters we have to go through to answer them. But I try to go as deep as I can and then come up, because the things on the surface are what they are. They're on the surface. You said something in there when you were framing your question about dealing with relationships, which is a whole nother topic, and being able to express yourself. And we got men on here, you know, we all men, and you go through different things in your relationship. First of all is your selection process of who you decide your significant other to be. I told my daughters and my teams, male and female, men make quick assessments of a woman when they first see her. I ain't telling no secrets. We make a quick assessment. If you're looking for a good time, if you're looking for a wife, if what you're looking for, you make a quick assessment when you look at her. So have we been wrong doing that? Yeah, we have been wrong doing that. But that's the way it is. If you dress and carry yourself a certain way, we think certain things. At the end of the day, is it more important for you to have somebody that's a trophy wife, or is it somebody more important for you to have that understands you and deals with you and knows your feelings and emotions? Let me ask you, do you have somebody that if you get sick, that you trust enough that what she's telling you is going to help make you better? I mean, so at the end of the day, that's where it starts in terms of being able to communicate. It starts way back then if you friends. You know, she might not have to sit there and watch the game with you, but she know you watching the game. Is she coming in there messing with you while you watching the game? Or she giving you the space that he in there watching his team play? So it's some little things that mean a lot to us. Here, I know you wanted some wings that look like you out. I fixed you some. You know, the little thing. That go a long way. You know, so that you can talk to her. Your wife should be, if she ain't your best friend, she ought to be right there next to the best friend, that you could talk and discuss things that are going on with you. You know, Black men in relationships are trying to break a cycle of being there. Our people have been very strong, family-oriented bond. We came from Africa where the man's roles are specific in terms of what you do and who you are and what you should be doing in this relationship. The men take the male child out and teach him how to do things. The mother takes the women, takes her daughters and teach him. We didn't get stupid ass crazy till we got brought over to this country and they didn't want us together as men. They didn't want our family unit strong. And if you got close in a marriage or got close to somebody, they shipped you off, sold you somewhere else. So we thought our job was to stud and be with as many women as we could be. That's not culturally who we are. Times are changing and we're getting back involved with it where now men are becoming leaders in their family and sticking in there. Now the odds say we ain't gonna do it. But every time we've started even our show to accentuate fathers who've been there, family units that have been together, that have done things, because they need to be honored and recognized, even though it's something we all should do. But you get so much heat that sometimes it's difficult to stay where you are and do what you need to do. I've been divorced. It's my second marriage. I didn't want my next set of children to grow up without me being there. That hurts me not to see them grow up. So whatever it took for me to be there to see them grow up, whatever I had to do, I wanted to be there to see that happen. You know, so you have to do a better job as men picking the right kind of woman to decide to spend the rest of your life with, you know, because do they change when you marry them? Oh, yeah, they do. I don't give a damn what they say. They change, and we do too. But you hope that you change and make that growth closer together than apart, you know. And you got to choose what you say. You can't tell your wife to change because she ain't trying to hear that. As soon as you say that, you know, stepped on her, you know, opened up a scab, then she coming at you about how different you are, you know. So you have to have somebody you're close with. So that allows you to be in that position. But that goes back to your initial attraction to her with a big butt or a short skirt on. You know, she might be all right for the night, but she ain't all right for every night. So you just have to kind of figure that out. We told our basketball team, we said, you know, when you leave school, you need to take your wife with you. Coach, why you need to do that? I said, because you know her. When you go to work and you working in Dallas and you meet a girl from Texas Southern, you might think you have something until you take her back to homecoming to Texas Southern. Everybody laughing because you with her. You have to know them, who they are and what you are getting. You go through college, you know who she is. She'll been with you through the grind. So you know good and bad. And she know you. She know when you get in that damn mood and get that look in your eyes, she's like, I ain't going to bother them today. But she also know when she need to talk to you about something, she can come down, sit down and talk to you and tell you, say, Corie, you know, you were wrong, Corie. You just need to calm down, think about it. And just think about it, because I don't think they were really trying to hurt you, because while you were doing something in the room, your wife watching everything in the room. She'd come back and get in the car. She could tell you what everybody was doing, who was watching you, who seemed to be in your corner, who you got to watch, because she'd have made an assessment on all of it looking around. So you got a wife doing that, and you pretty much got one that's got your best interest at heart. But with your wife, you have to choose how you say what you say. You know, she'll understand. And sometimes she'll tell you 2 days later, yeah, you know, you were kind of feeling yourself the other day. You kind of said something, I really ain't paying no attention. I get mad, my wife don't pay me no attention. She'd be like, whatever. And she just keep it moving. My daughter's like, Mama, you ain't here yet. I heard your daddy. And she just keep on moving. She like, I ain't paid his ass no attention. I don't know what's up with him today, but I'm going to cook this chicken like I wanted to cook it. He want to cook it another way, that he better do that tomorrow.
Great advice. And like I said, guys, this brother's been married for over 30 years. So we all Black men on here. If you're not taking gems from nobody, take it for somebody that's been married longer than some of our demographic been alive. Our demographic between 29 and 55 years old. So basically, if you 30 and under, he was married when you was born. Let's just keep it real on here. So
Could be my son.
Yeah, man. So before I let you go, man, because I feel like this is very important. I feel like a lot of brothers, you know, work a lot of hours. and they don't have no insurance. They don't have no health insurance. How important as a Black man, especially when you work in a lot of hours, how important is having that? Because most brothers tell me, listen, I don't need no health insurance, man. I'm only 29. I'm 33. I got plenty of time. I'm good, man. I'll get insurance when I get 36, 37, when I start feeling a little tired, but I'm still in football shape, is what brothers be telling me. So I just want to know from your point of view, as you get older, how important is having that insurance on deck?
I don't know if I could speak on that because I've always had it. I mean, from the minute I was employed at Florida A&M University full time, I had insurance. I would not know what it's like not to have it. You know, when I needed to go, I could go. It wasn't coming out of my pocket. And as you get older, they do something about pre-existing conditions now. If you had that when they insure you, they try not to insure you for that. You know, that's a pre-existing condition. You almost have to have it. And then you go in some places, they don't want to treat you because you don't have insurance. So the only thing I was trying to be cognizant of when I was young and first started was I traveled a lot coaching. And all I could envision was getting sick on the road somewhere and having insurance that wasn't covered where I was. So I always had to get insurance because see, all of it, some of it, they got to pick who you go to see and where you go and all of this. And, you know, I try to stay with that Blue Cross Blue Shield pretty much nationwide. So I had an issue. I could get in. And somewhere, we were in Montgomery, Alabama State. And after the game, I got real sick. And they had to take me to the hospital. Now, that in itself was a trip. I was single then, but nurses looking at you, and here come my basketball team, like, you can't talk to him. He married and got 5 children. I'm like, she kind of cute. Now, you don't want her because she was smoking cigarettes. I said, y'all just too protective. But you just you have to have it. I mean, there's some things that you could let slide in life, but health insurance ain't one. That ain't one. You mess around there and have something catastrophic happen to you, you'll be financially responsible for something for the next 20 years trying to come from under that bill.
Coach Clay, you touched on a lot of stuff in Corey's previous question. How would you relate or equate wealth with having the right spouse in your life?
It's critical. So in terms of your wealth, you have to have a woman who supports you. And if she supports you, then she understands that we're living at such and such a means because our goal is to get to such and such and such. But if you live in a such and such a means to get there and she doesn't want to do without it, she wants to get there now, the pressure on her to get to that point makes you adjust the plan that you have financially to get there so she happy. So you'll adjust it. You wasn't trying to get there. Now, sometimes your wife pushes you because she sees in you the ability to do more than what you're doing. And I don't think that's a negative. I think that support from her in terms of you following your dream, and I thought that you were going to take this league and do X, Y, and Z, and you've gotten kind of comfortable being the commissioner, but there were some other things I heard you talk about before you did that. You've given up on that? You know, that ain't nagging you, but that's kind of reminding you of the dreams that you shared with her, that she don't want you to get complacent with what you're doing. That's kind of a special woman. And she ain't trying to get a new car. You know, she ain't trying to do that. She kind of good where she is. She knows that you can be more than that. And just like we try to assess them, they assess the hell out of us too. And they see sometimes the potential in us that we don't see in ourselves. I hope that answers for you a little bit.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
How do you, as a Black man, use your opinionatedness, but still can be productive and not scare other people?
Oftentimes, that's a good question, Corie. Oftentimes with our teams, we told them, I said, one of the very first things you find out when you get hired, one of the first of them is if they give a damn about what you say. If they don't care about your opinion, then shut the hell up. It doesn't make sense to give it to them if they don't want to listen. So you go along with the program, what they want to do, and you look for another opportunity to get somewhere where your opinion has value, because they don't. Some do and some don't. You've been in positions where you've been in them, where people are like, you know, Corie, you might have a point there. Let me think about that a little bit. When you're in a work environment where they nurture you and kind of listen to, they don't have to do what you say, but if they at least consider it, then it makes you feel a little better like you're part of the team. We've had businesses and corporations that come on our campus, Florida A&M University, and look for people who are applying for jobs that played on athletic teams. Why? because they know what it's like to be on a team in a work environment, working with others. We just had somebody on our Mother's Day show say, one of the guys said, he said he can tell whatever job he goes to, that he could tell the males or females that played on athletic teams. So the question was why? He said, because they work well with others. It's never about themselves. It's about the team. And when you can make a comment that helps the team, then that's fine. But not all environments want that. There's some unhealthy, toxic environments out there. You have to be mature enough to see those, because sometimes you have to get away from those situations because they're not good for your mental health. There's situations where they don't want you to be honest. Because if you're honest, they don't have something on you to control you to make you do what they want you to do. There's some job situations that use and try to find corrupt things that you do or habits that they do that they now can use that to manipulate you to do what they want you to do. Those are the sad jobs. And there are a lot of them, and at a high level. And a lot of them are very, very political jobs and people that want to control you. So when you talk about being open-mindedness, you always have to be aware of your own strengths and weaknesses and always be in a situation to learn from it. Because when you come in, a lot of times you're in new ground, new territory, and you have to learn what's going on around you before you go in there even talking about what your opinion is, because you don't know who's friends with who's close with who. And here come Corie, he trying to take over. He ain't been here a month, and he trying to tell people what to do. You know, you have to I kind of figured out what I felt were my strengths and weaknesses. And I knew that I was blunt, and I said what I said. And I knew that I wasn't going to change that in me. I said, I just have to live with the consequences of whatever that is. You know, I tried to censor it some, but if somebody asks me what I think, give an example. We're in a meeting with one of the university presidents and the athletic director. I was in the meeting. He says, we raised money at the school I was at, on homecoming. We passed some plates down the aisle at homecoming and collected all this money and blah, blah, blah. So I just sat there and listened. So they looked at me and they said, Coach, what do you think? I said, I hate it. And they said, why do you hate it? I said, we're Florida A&M University. We're one of the most prestigious Black universities in the country. And now we're going to send a church collection plate down the aisle like church and have people put money in there. I said, one, that looks like we beg. And I don't think we beg anywhere. Two, how are you going to count for the money? Who's counting the money? When the ushers get the money at the end, how do you know somebody's not taking money out? When you collect it at the end, how do you know somebody's not taking the money? What are the controls in place to keep somebody from stealing money? I said, I don't like it. So the president looked at the AD and thought about it for me. He said, I agree with Mickey. I don't think we need to do that. But I wouldn't have voiced that opinion if they hadn't asked me, because it just wasn't the environment for us. So sometimes you have to pick your spot. And then when they ask you, I didn't want to be at the end of the day and say, you know what? I didn't think that was going to work. Well, Mickey, why you didn't say something? Well, I said it.
Hey, Coach Mickey, I just want to say thank you for your time. You could have been on the golf course in Southwood. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you spent your time with Black Men Sundays. Even though you say Black Men on Sundays, that's cool, because every time you say that, you owe me like 2 Lindy boxes on top of that.
Thank you for having me on.
Black Men Sundays, we out of here.
Check.